The war between humans and the Vec had gone on for 15 years. Dr. Hannah Kim worked in a field hospital on Nexus Planet, fixing hurt soldiers. She was 32 years old and had seen too many people die. One rainy night, a strange pod crashed near the hospital. Inside was a badly hurt Vec soldier. His gray skin had burns, and blue blood came from his wounds. Everyone knew the Vec were cruel. They had killed many humans without mercy. The rules said enemy fighters must be given to army officers right away. But Hannah could not ignore her promise as a doctor. When no one was looking, she pulled the Vec to an old storage room in the hospital basement. She knew helping an enemy was against the law, but something in his pained face seemed different from the monster she was taught to hate. The Vec soldier's name was Tadyo. When he woke up, he did not attack her as she thought he would. Instead, he watched her with interest as she fixed his wounds. Unlike the wild beasts described in army reports, Taejo spoke perfect human language and thanked her for saving him. "Why would you help me?" he asked, his purple eyes looking at her face. "I'm a doctor," Hannah said simply. "I fix people, even monsters like me." His voice was deep but kind. "Are you a monster?" Hannah asked, putting medicine on his burned arm. As they talked, Hannah learned that much of what humans believed about the Vec was not true. Taejo was not a mindless killer. He was a scientist before the war made him a soldier. He had a family waiting for him, children who missed their father. While Hannah secretly helped him over several days, they shared stories about their worlds. The war looked very different from each side. Humans thought they were fighting back against Vec attacks. The Vec thought they were protecting themselves from human expansion. When Captain Do-Hyun Park, the strict hospital security officer, started asking about missing medical supplies, Hannah knew time was running out. She had to decide. Turn Taejo in as her duty said she should, or help him escape, turning against her own people for someone she now saw as a person, not an enemy. On the 7th night, alarms rang through the building. Someone had seen Taejo through the storage room window. As security guards surrounded the hospital, Hannah made her choice. She grabbed Taejo's arm and ran toward the back door, toward an unknown future that would change both their worlds forever. "They'll call you a traitor," Taejo said as they hid behind trees, rain soaking them both. "Maybe I am," Hannah replied, watching the searchlights sweep the area. "But I'm still a doctor first." Taejo touched her hand gently. "On my world, there is a saying. One act of mercy can end 1,000 years of hate." Hannah smiled despite their danger. "On Earth, we say something similar." Behind them, Captain Do-Hyun's angry voice called her name. Ahead lay the dark jungle and an uncertain path. But for the first time since the war began, Hannah felt something new growing in her heart, hope that perhaps humans and Vec were not so different after all. "We need to keep moving," she whispered. Together, they disappeared into the night, two enemies now unlikely allies, unknowingly taking the first steps toward healing a broken galaxy. Hannah and Taejo ran through the wet jungle away from the hospital. Behind them, bright lights cut through the dark as Captain Do-Hyun led search teams. They were now both on the run. A human doctor and a Vec soldier, strange friends in a galaxy torn by hate. "We need to find a way to call my people," Taejo said as they rested in a small cave. "My science ship might be near this planet. If they catch us, they will kill me as a traitor," Hannah said softly, now fully understanding what she had done. Taejo looked at her with his strange purple eyes. "Why did you really save me?" Hannah thought about his question. "Because this war has taken too much already. Because I'm tired of seeing death. Maybe because you showed me that our enemies are people too." As they traveled, they learned more about each other. Taejo had been a scientist studying human bodies before the war. His work was meant to find ways their species could live together, not to find weaknesses to attack. Hannah told him about growing up in a colony that was later destroyed, supposedly by Vec forces, though Taejo seemed confused by this claim. 3 days into their escape, they found a small trading post run by Jin, a clever trader who sold things to both sides of the war. For most of Hannah's money, he agreed to send a secret message to the Vec science ship. While waiting for an answer, Hannah helped sick children in the trading post, earning Jin's real respect. "You two are strange," Jin said, watching Hannah and Taejo work together to help a young boy with fever. A human and a Vec working together. "Never thought I'd see that." "Maybe that's the problem," Hannah replied. "Nobody ever tried." The reply from the Vec ship came with bad news. The war had gotten worse. Both sides were getting ready to use planet-killing weapons. Millions would die unless something changed fast. That night, as they got ready to leave for the meeting place, Captain Do-hyun's forces surrounded the trading post. Someone had told them where to find Hannah and Taejo. "There's nowhere to run, Dr. Kim," Do-hyun shouted through a speaker. "Give up the alien or we'll destroy this place." Hannah and Taejo looked at each other. They were trapped. But Jin came to them with a hidden tunnel door. "My family has run this post for many years. We've stayed alive by having escape routes." As they went down into the tunnel, Do-hyun's forces began shooting. Hannah looked back one last time at her world, wondering if she would ever return. The tunnel took them deep into the planet's old cave system, moving them closer to where Taejo's people would find them. "Your Captain Do-hyun seems very set on catching us," Taejo said as they moved through the dark tunnel. "He follows rules exactly," Hannah explained. "In his mind, there is no gray area between friend and enemy." "And what about in your mind?" Taejo asked quietly. Hannah thought about how much had changed in just a few days. "I think the line between friend and enemy is thinner than we all believed." As they walked deeper into the caves, they began to notice something strange. The walls were too smooth in some places. There were odd marks that looked like writing. This was not a natural cave. "Taejo, look at this," Hannah called, shining her light on a wall covered in strange glowing symbols. "Is this Vec writing?" Taejo touched the wall, his face showing surprise. "No, this is not Vec. This is not human either." A low hum began to fill the cave, and the symbols glowed brighter in response to their touch. Somewhere ahead, an ancient door slowly opened. "What is this place?" Hannah whispered. "I don't know," Taejo answered, "but I think we were meant to find it." They stepped forward together into a mystery that would change everything they thought they knew about the war between their peoples. The cave system under Nexus Planet was not natural. As Hannah and Taejo went deeper, they found smooth metal walls and strange glowing symbols under years of dirt. They had found something much older than humans or Vec. "This technology," Taejo said, running his gray fingers along the bright patterns. "It's not Vec or human." Hannah felt a chill. Then who made it? Their path led to a huge underground room with a big machine in the middle. The machine still had power after what must have been thousands of years. Around it were the bones of beings neither Hannah nor Taejo had ever seen before. While looking at the old technology, Taejo made a surprising discovery. "This power signature, it's like what runs our warships. And these symbols appear in our oldest books." Hannah found similar connections to early human things. Somehow, both human and Vec had built their advanced technology based on pieces of this ancient culture. As they explored more, they turned on a hologram recording. A tall, glowing being spoke in a strange language. But the pictures were clear. It showed the ancient race putting life on both human and Vec worlds, guiding how they grew, and then leaving their creation for some reason. "We're related," Hannah said with shock. "Our species. We were made by the same beings." The recording showed something else, a warning about the technology. If Vec and human systems, both coming from the same ancient source but developed differently, ever joined at full power, they would start a chain reaction through the galaxy's network of ancient technology. The destruction would be huge. "The planet killers," Taejo said, his voice hollow. "If both sides use them at the same time, it won't just destroy a few worlds." Hannah finished. It could break apart half the galaxy. Their discovery was interrupted by the cave shaking. Captain Do-Yun was bombing the cave entrances to flush them out. As the ceiling began to fall, they downloaded what data they could from the ancient system. Their escape path led them to a hidden place with a small spacecraft of the ancient design, their only hope of reaching the Vec science ship. Neither knew how to fly it, but when they entered, the controls responded to them, recognizing them as children of its creators. The ship broke free from its long sleep and shot into the sky just as Do-Yun's forces broke into the room. In space above Nexus, they saw the true size of the war for the first time. A massive battle was happening, human and Vec fleets firing at each other. And behind them, coming closer, were the super weapons both sides had sent. They had only hours before the galaxy-breaking reaction would begin. Their small ancient ship, sending signals neither fleet knew, slipped between the warships toward the Vec science vessel, led by Taejo's old friend, Director Sun-hee. "We need to stop this war," Hannah said, watching the battle with horror. "Not just for our people, but for all life in the galaxy." Taejo nodded seriously. "And we'll need both sides to believe us. A Vec scientist and a human doctor, both traitors to their own kind." As their ship docked with the Vec vessel, alarms went off. The countdown to destruction had begun. "Do you think they'll listen to us?" Hannah asked, fear in her voice for the first time. Taejo looked at the data they had found. "They must. If not, everything ends." "Then we make them listen," Hannah said, her face set with new purpose. "We've come too far to fail now." The door to the Vec ship opened. Director Sun-hee stood there, her amber eyes wide with surprise at seeing Taejo with a human. The fate of the galaxy now rested on their ability to convince two warring species that everything they believed was wrong. She healed the enemy and broke the galaxy. Part 4. The Reluctant Allies. Director Sun-hee was not what Hannah thought a Vec commander would be like. Tall and thin with bright yellow eyes, she listened to their story with a cool, scientific mind rather than instant rejection. "You want me to believe humans are our relatives?" she asked, looking at the data they brought. "That we're being used by ancient technology." "The proof is here," Taejo said firmly. "Test it yourself." While Sun-hee scientists checked their data, Hannah helped hurt Vec soldiers in the medical bay. Their bodies were different, but also similar to humans in ways that doctors had never known. She found that some human medicines worked well on Vec bodies, knowledge that could save many lives. The Vec crew watched her with both interest and distrust. One young engineer named Jiho followed her everywhere, asking questions about Earth and human ways. His childlike wonder made Hannah see how little normal people on both sides knew about each other. Meanwhile, Taejo faced questions from Vec military officers. His leaving had been reported as capture, but now he returned freely with a human. Some wanted him killed as a traitor. "The planet killers must be stopped," he argued with passion. "If both weapons fire, the ancient network will make their effect much worse." When Sun-hee's team confirmed their data was real, things changed. The Vec High Command agreed to a short stop in fighting to learn more. But human forces had to be convinced too. Hannah recorded a message to Admiral Young-soo, the human fleet commander and an old friend of her father. She explained their discovery and begged for the human forces to turn off their superweapon. "I've seen their medical ships, their family transports," she said into the camera. "They have families, children, just like us. And we're all being used in a game set up thousands of years ago." The human answer came fast and harsh. "Dr. Kim is under enemy control. The Vec are stalling. Weapon launch continues as planned." Sun-hee sighed heavily. "Your people are as stubborn as mine." With time running out, they made a desperate plan. They would take the ancient ship directly to the human flagship, bringing both the proof and a Vec group including scientists and medical staff. Hannah would show her medical discoveries, proving the biological connection between species. "It's too dangerous," Jiho said with worry. "Human ships will shoot any Vec vessel." That's why I need to go alone first, Hannah said, to prepare them. Taijo immediately objected. I won't let you face them alone. They'll arrest you as a traitor. Their argument was stopped by alarms. A human attack team had somehow boarded the Vec vessel, led by none other than Captain Doyun. He had tracked the ancient ship and followed them. As security doors closed throughout the ship, Hana, Taijo, and Sunny found themselves trapped in the lab with Doyun and his heavily armed soldiers. Step away from the aliens, Dr. Kim, Doyun ordered, raising his weapon. This time, there's nowhere to run. But Doyun hadn't come to capture them. His real mission was to plant bombs throughout the Vec science ship. The human command had decided to use this chance to destroy one of the Vec's most valuable ships. As the standoff grew tense, the countdown to the superweapons activation continued. They had less than 6 hours to prevent the destruction of the galaxy. Captain, Hannah said, stepping forward despite the guns pointed at her. I know you follow orders. But before you act, look at what we found. She showed him the holographic data about the ancient creators and the warning about the weapons. Doyun's face showed conflict. He was a soldier trained to obey, but he was also smart enough to understand the threat they faced. If what you're saying is true, he said slowly, then human and Vec fighting each other is exactly what will destroy us all. Yes, Hannah said simply. And we have 6 hours to stop it. The air in the lab felt heavy. Captain Doyun kept his gun pointed at Taijo, while his soldiers secured the room. Hannah stood between them, her hands up. Listen to me, Doyun. The war is based on a lie, she said. Both our kinds were made by the same ancestors. The weapons we're about to use will start ancient technology all through the galaxy. Doyun's face hardened. More alien lies. Step aside, Doctor. Director Sunny, always the scientist, tried a different way. Captain, look at this DNA test. Human and Vec share basic patterns that couldn't happen by chance. Something in the proof caught Doyun's attention. The soldier in him wanted to finish his mission, but his mind couldn't ignore the data. While he thought, alarms rang through the ship. The bombs your men planted. Hannah realized. Where are they? Lower engine room and life support. Doyun answered without thinking, his training making him assess the threat even to enemies. What followed was a mad rush through the ship. Vec security traded shots with Doyun's soldiers, but Hana, Taijo, Sunhai, and surprisingly, Doyun himself worked together to reach the bombs. Each had their reasons. Doyun had realized the bombs would go off too soon, killing his own men before they could escape. Stopping the bombs needed both human and Vec knowledge. As they worked side by side, Hannah noticed something amazing. The ancient tech in the Vec ship responded to both species, further proving their shared history. With the immediate danger stopped, they returned to the bigger problem. The superweapons were still active, moving into final position. They needed to reach both human and Vec command centers. We'll split up, Hannah suggested. Taijo and I will take the ancient ship to the human flagship. Sunhai and Doyun stay here to convince the Vec High Command. Doyun objected right away. I'm not staying with the Vec. You've seen the proof, Hannah challenged him. Are you willing to risk galaxy-wide destruction because of hate? The captain's face showed his inner struggle. Finally, he nodded stiffly. I'll go with you to the human flagship. They might shoot you on sight otherwise. As they got the ancient ship ready to leave, Jiho, the young Vec engineer, insisted on joining them. The ship responds to Vec biology. You need me to fly its systems. Their small mixed crew, a human doctor, a Vec scientist, a human captain, and a Vec engineer, launched toward the human fleet. Behind them, Sunhee began her own mission to convince the Vec leaders. The ancient ship moved like nothing they'd ever seen, slipping through space in ways that broke normal physics. It was this technology, they realized, that both sides had been copying poorly for centuries. As they approached the human battle group, weapons locked onto them right away. Admiral Young-Soo's voice boomed over the communication system. "Unknown ship, you are entering a military zone. Identify yourself or be destroyed." "This is Captain Do-Hyun Park, security code Alpha 97. Do-Hyun said, surprising everyone. "I'm bringing Dr. Hannah Kim with critical information about VEC biology and weapons." The answer came after a tense pause. "Approach docking bay 4. Any wrong move will result in immediate fire." As they moved toward the flagship, they watched in horror as the human superweapon began its final activation. On their screens, the VEC weapon did the same. "We have 30 minutes, Taejo whispered, checking the data. "After that, the reaction can't be stopped." They landed in the human docking bay, immediately surrounded by armed Marines. Admiral Young-Soo himself came to meet them, his weathered face showing shock at seeing VEC aliens with his officers. "You have exactly 1 minute to explain why I shouldn't have you all executed for treason," he growled. Hannah stepped forward with the data crystal. "Because in 29 minutes, half the galaxy dies unless you listen." The flagship's meeting room was filled with tension. Admiral Young-Soo stood with his top officers, faces grim as they looked at the evidence. Across from them, Hannah, Do-Hyun, Taejo, and Jiho waited. Armed guards lined the walls, guns ready. "Even if what you say is true," Young-Soo finally spoke, "how do we know turning off our weapon won't just give the VEC the advantage? They could be using you." "Admiral," Hannah replied, "I spent 15 years treating people hurt in this war. I wanted to end more than anyone, but this isn't the way." Taejo stepped forward carefully. "Your superweapon and ours come from the same ancient technology. They're made to work together. The result will tear apart space in this area." The science officer, Commander Minji, spoke up. "Sir, their data matches strange readings we got during weapon testing. Energy levels went much higher than we expected." Meanwhile, on the VEC command ship, Director Sun-hee faced similar doubt from her leaders. The VEC High Command, led by the tall Supreme Commander Hyuk, questioned her loyalty. "You bring human science claims to our war council." Hyuk's deep voice filled the room. "Claims that conveniently ask us to turn off our greatest weapon." Sun-hee stood firm. "I bring tested data, Commander. Our own analysis confirms everything. The ancient technology network covers this entire area. Once started, we cannot control it." Back on the human flagship, time was running dangerously short. 15 minutes remained before both superweapons reached the point of no return. Admiral Young-Soo remained unconvinced. In desperation, Hannah tried something bold. "Let me show you something." She had brought medical samples from the VEC vessel. "This is why I first saved Taejo. As a doctor, I saw something familiar in his body." She turned on the medical scanner, showing VEC and human cells side by side. "Watch what happens when I put this human treatment on VEC tissue." The officers gasped as the VEC cells healed quickly, accepting the human medicine perfectly. "Impossible," whispered Commander Minji. Unless we're biologically compatible," Hannah finished. "Two branches of the same family tree." Jiho, the young VEC engineer, stepped forward despite the guard's warning. He rolled up his sleeve, showing a bad burn. "When your bombs hit our ship earlier, I was hurt. Dr. Kim treated me with human medicine. It worked better than our own." He showed his arm, already healing cleanly. Admiral Young-Soo studied the evidence silently. Then he looked at Captain Do-Hyun. "Your thoughts, Captain. You've spent time with them." Do-Hyun stood straight. "Sir, yesterday I would have said all VEC deserved to die. Now," he looked at Taejo and Jiho, "I've seen enough to know we've been fighting a war based on misunderstanding, and I believe the threat is real." 10 minutes remained. The Admiral made his decision. Open a direct channel to the VEC command ship. Across space, Supreme Commander Hyuk received the transmission with surprise. For the first time in the 15-year war, human and VEC leaders spoke directly. "Supreme Commander," Young-Soo began formally, I propose we both immediately turn off our superweapons, followed by peace talks. Huck's yellow eyes narrowed. Why would we trust this sudden wish for peace? Because we've both been played, Young-Soo replied. Our civilizations were set on this crash course thousands of years ago. It's time we chose our own path. On both ships, scientists worked frantically to check the data independently. With 5 minutes remaining, both leaders faced the same terrible choice: risk believing their enemies or risk destroying everything. 4 minutes, 3 minutes. Finally, Commander Huck gave the order. Begin shutdown sequence. Admiral Young-Soo did the same. Power down the weapon. As both super weapons went quiet, Hana and Taejo hugged in relief, not caring about the stares from humans and Vec alike. Their impossible journey had barely prevented catastrophe. But the harder work of building peace was just beginning. This isn't over, Young-Soo warned. 15 years of hate won't disappear in a day. No, Hana agreed. But for the first time, we have a chance to heal. The peace held, but it was still fragile. People from both human and Vec worlds met on a neutral space station to start official peace talks. Hana, Taejo, and their unlikely friends found themselves at the center of these efforts. But not everyone wanted peace. During the third day of talks, a big explosion shook the station, killing 2 Vec diplomats and a human security team. Both sides quickly blamed each other. This is just what we expected from humans, shouted the Vec representative, standing up from the table. Interesting that only humans died in the security area, said the human diplomat. As the peace talks nearly fell apart, Hana and Taejo began their own search for the truth. The bombing method didn't match normal ways of either military. With help from Do-Yun's security knowledge and Jiho's engineering skills, they found a troubling truth. The bomb materials contained parts of both human and Vec technology, mixed in ways that shouldn't be possible. Someone who knows both our technologies did this, Taejo said grimly. Their investigation led them to a shocking discovery: a secret group called the Eternal Guardians with members from both species. These fanatics believed that the ancient creators would return someday, and had decided the old texts meant that human and Vec were supposed to fight, not work together. They saw the war as holy and peace as wrong. They've existed for hundreds of years, explained Professor Shunho, an old Vec historian who had contacted Sunmi with information, working in secret, making sure our people stayed enemies. So all this fighting, the destroyed colonies, the millions dead, it was all planned? Hana asked, shocked. Professor Chunho nodded sadly. The first meeting between our species was peaceful. The Guardians made sure it didn't stay that way. Evidence showed that the Guardians had people throughout both governments. They had shaped policy for generations, making sure peace efforts failed and misunderstandings grew. They had even sabotaged peaceful science exchange between the civilizations. With peace talks stalled after the bombing, Hana and Taejo took their evidence directly to Admiral Young-Soo and Supreme Commander Huck. The revelation that both sides had been used by the same group caused anger rather than more fighting. We've been pawns, Young-Soo said bitterly, fighting their war, dying for their twisted beliefs. Huck, usually calm, showed rare emotion. My own brother died in the Battle of Proxima. For what? A lie. The two leaders, once bitter enemies, found common ground in their anger at being used. They agreed to work together to expose the Guardians within their governments. But the Guardians wouldn't give up easily. As their existence became known, they activated hidden agents throughout both fleets. Key ships suddenly broke formation, weapons powering up. The ancient superweapons, though turned off, were targeted for capture. They're trying to restart the war, Do-Yun realized, and finish what they started. In a desperate plan, Hana suggested using the ancient ship they'd discovered to access the central network connecting all the old technology. If they could control the system, they could stop the Guardians from using any of the ancient weapons. The ship responds to both our biologies, she explained. It recognizes us as the children of its creators. Maybe the network will too. While military forces from both sides worked to contain the Guardian threat, Hana, Taizhou, Jiho, and Do-yun took the ancient vessel to coordinates Professor Chunho had identified, the likely location of the network's control center. What they found was beyond their imagination. A massive space station, hidden in a gas cloud, untouched for thousands of years, yet still working perfectly. As they docked and entered, the sleeping systems woke up, responding to their presence. "It recognizes us," Taizhou whispered as lights turned on around them. "Both of us." 6 months after the ceasefire, the first joint human-Vec colony was built on a neutral planet named Harmony. As chief medical officer, Hana ran a new medical center that mixed technologies and methods from both civilizations. The mixing wasn't always smooth. Years of lies and 15 years of open war had left deep scars. Humans and Vec often stayed apart. Talks between them were awkward and sometimes hostile. "Did you expect them to become best friends overnight?" Do-yun asked Hana as they watched mixed groups of children playing more easily than their parents could talk. "No," she admitted, "but every healing takes time." Taizhou had become an important diplomat, traveling between worlds to share their discovery about the ancient creators. Some welcomed the knowledge that humans and Vec were basically cousins. Others rejected it completely, holding on to hatred. The Guardians, though exposed, hadn't been completely stopped. Their cells worked in the shadows, sometimes attacking symbols of cooperation. Security stayed tight around the colony, with Do-yun training the joint human-Vec force to protect their experiment in living together. One evening, as Hana was finishing her hospital rounds, a group of hurt miners was rushed in after a tunnel fell in. Both humans and Vec had been working the site, and now they lay side by side in her emergency room. A human miner named Jinwoo was paired with a Vec named Minhee for a new treatment Hana had developed. The treatment needed blood parts from both species, creating a healing factor more powerful than either alone. "I don't want alien blood in me," Jinwoo protested weakly. Minhee's skin turned dark gray with anger. "You think I want human stuff in me?" Hana looked at them both firmly. "Then you both choose death over working together." After your friends carried each other out of that fallen tunnel, the patients went quiet, then grudgingly agreed. As the treatment began to work, healing their injuries with amazing speed, their attitudes softened. "It doesn't feel wrong," Jinwoo admitted, watching his wounds close. "It feels stronger somehow." The medical breakthroughs spread throughout the colony and beyond. Hana shared her research openly with both civilizations, showing that human and Vec biologies made each other better. It became harder to keep hating when your life could be saved by the enemy species. Meanwhile, Jiho led a team of engineers studying the ancient technology. They found that many of the most destructive weapons could be changed for peaceful uses, making energy, fixing environments, even faster than light communication. The technology that nearly destroyed them could now help rebuild. On the first anniversary of the ceasefire, leaders from both governments came to Harmony for a formal signing of the Cosmic Concord, a true peace treaty. Admiral Youngsu and Supreme Commander Guk, once bitter enemies, stood together as its main architects. The ceremony was held in the colony's central square. Hana watched from the side, Taizhou beside her. "Did you ever imagine this when you dragged me into that storage room?" he asked, taking her hand quietly. She smiled. "I just wanted to save one life. I never planned on changing the galaxy." The moment was broken by a disturbance at the security edge. Guardian extremists had sneaked into the event. Explosions shook the square as they made their final desperate attempt to stop peace. In the chaos that followed, something remarkable happened. Without hesitation, humans and Vec protected each other from falling debris. Security forces from both species worked in perfect coordination to stop the threat. Minhee pulled Jinwoo from a collapsed viewing stand. Do-yun and his Vec deputy fought back-to-back against the attackers. When it was over, the square was damaged, but the peace held. If anything, The bonds had grown stronger in the face of shared danger. 20 years had passed since the signing of the Cosmic Concord. The small experiment on harmony had grown into a thriving civilization, unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Not purely human, not purely Vec, but something beautifully new. Hana, now in her 50s with gray streaks in her dark hair, stood on the viewing deck of the medical research ship Concordia. Below them, a new world waited, one suffering from environmental damage that the joint team hoped to heal using reclaimed ancient technology. "Ready for another miracle, Dr. Kim?" asked Taijo beside her, his purple eyes still bright, though his gray skin had developed the patterns of Vec middle age. "After all these years, you still call me doctor," she laughed, taking his hand. Their relationship had become a symbol of what was possible between their kinds, not without challenges, but built on deep understanding and respect. The ship's young captain approached them. Sunhee was something remarkable. The daughter of a human father and Vec mother, one of the first generation of mixed children made possible by Hana's medical breakthroughs. She represented a future neither civilization had imagined possible. "We're ready to begin healing the atmosphere," Sunhee reported. "The ancient terraforming technology has been set up for this planet's specific needs." As the Concordia deployed its equipment, Hana thought about the journey that had brought them here. The peace had held despite some setbacks. The Guardians had eventually faded away as new generations grew up knowing cooperation rather than conflict. Admiral Youngsu and Commander Guk had become respected elders, friends in their final years before passing the torch to younger leaders. Do-Yun had transformed the Joint Security Force into the Peacekeepers, now protecting all worlds regardless of species. Jiho had become the leading expert on ancient technology, heading a science academy where human and Vec students studied side by side. "I've been reviewing the medical data from the colony on Nexus," Taijo said, bringing Hana back to the present. "The new healing compound works even better than we hoped." Hana nodded with satisfaction. Her life's work, combining human and Vec medical knowledge, had saved millions of lives across both civilizations. Diseases once thought incurable now had treatments. Wounds that would have been fatal now healed completely. "You know what today is, don't you?" Taijo asked quietly. Hana smiled. 20 years to the day since I found a strange escape pod with a hurt Vec soldier inside. The day you chose to heal an enemy. The day I chose to see a person, not an enemy," she corrected. Below them, the planet's atmosphere began to change as the ancient technology worked its magic. Poisoned skies slowly cleared. Dead soil began to rejuvenate. It would take time, but this world too would heal. Captain Sunhee called them to the bridge. A message was coming in from the new joint government. The last Guardian cell had been found and peacefully disbanded. Their leaders had finally accepted that the ancient creators hadn't wanted eternal war, but cooperation between their children. "It's finally over," Hana said, a weight lifting from her shoulders. That evening, as the ship orbited the healing planet, a celebration was held in the main hall. Humans and Vec mixed freely, along with the growing number of mixed children who belonged fully to both worlds, and yet were something entirely new. "I have something to show you," Taijo said, leading Hana to a quiet corner. He activated a small hologram projector. It showed the storage room where they first met, preserved exactly as it had been that day, now a museum on Nexus. "They're calling it the birthplace of peace," he said. Hana shook her head, amused and touched. "All I did was follow my oath as a doctor, to heal. And in healing one enemy, you healed 2 civilizations," Taijo replied. "You broke the galaxy apart, the galaxy of hate and war, and helped build something better from the pieces." Outside the viewport, stars shone on the recovering world. Somewhere among those stars, millions of beings lived in peace because one doctor had chosen compassion over fear. "What's next?" Taijo asked, looking at the vast universe before them. Hana smiled. "We keep exploring. We keep learning. And most of all, we keep healing." As the Concordia moved into the light of a new dawn, Hannah knew that the greatest healing of all had been the one between hearts once divided by hate, now united in hope. The end.